Hey gang, I'm Luke and welcome to Down from the Attic. When it comes to classic adventure board games, I've really not had much great luck with them. I mean, Dark World, well that was... And Key to the Kingdom, well, that was... But today, I'm looking at a true classic of a board game, a game that's gone into influence so many board games after it, and one that's still loved and revered to this very day. Time to delve into the depths of dangerous dungeons, cast spells at Chaos Warriors, skewer some skeletons, and loot some treasure. This episode, I'm looking at Heroquest. Now this review is going to be a little bit different from my other reviews in that ordinarily I'd play the game first, have a few games of it, and then write a review. But this time, you're getting my initial impressions from opening the box to seeing the figures. It's all gonna be sequential. But first, a little history.
I'm not going to pretend that the large majority of you watching this video now have at some point had some interaction with Heroquest. Either you played it as a kid or still own a copy. Heroquest came out in 1989 and was a collaborative work with Milton and Games Workshop, with the idea of making a fun, scalable, introductory version of their Warhammer games, and to the basic mechanics seen in games such as Dungeons & Dragons. D&D had been on the scene since the 1970s and had caused numerous waves with parents concerned wrongly about its supposed links to the occult and demon worship. No, really.
And this has happened, I have letter after letter where people took the pieces. Now, there's sixes involved in the pieces of the game, but they take the pieces of the game, they would throw them in the incinerator or the fireplace, and screams would come out because there seemed to be some kind of spiritual forces inhabiting those pieces.
But Dungeons & Dragons was a massively popular games franchise. It still is. But in the 1980s, Milton and Games Workshop were wanting to capture that younger market with similar gameplay, with a game that would gently introduce them to the rules and gameplay of Dungeons & Dragons and roleplay. This game, however, wouldn't be set in the players' imaginations. This game would have a board, 3D furniture pieces, doorways, hordes of monsters, traps, treasure, 4 different heroes to pick from, and a stack of pre-designed quests, epic battles, perils, pitfalls, and the aim to be a true hero. And all this took place in the confines of the board. All this contained in one box, a box no bigger than a standard board game of the time. Heroquest was born. And its presence was certainly noticed. Against the competition such as Trivial Pursuits and Taboo, which had won awards that year, Heroquest practically shone the spotlight on itself with its epic hand-painted artwork, promise of a plethora of miniatures, its roots being in Dungeons & Dragons but being a board game meant that board gamers could make their first steps into role-playing and vice versa. Stampedes of 10-year-olds grabbed their copies and delved into the world head first. Heroquest became massively popular and to this day is still loved by many gamers.
And here's where I come in. I was born in 1985, so I was 4 when this game came out. And at this moment in time, I've never played it.
I was aware of it for sure as a kid, seeing it in Argos catalogues and the commercial. I mean, who could forget that commercial? But I was always told, that's an older boy's game, that, Luke. That's not for you. Here, let's play Pop-Up Pirate.
But I have a copy now. My copy. My precious copy. So, without further ado, let's get this thing down and have a look at it.
First off, box art, and this is simply epic. That's the word to describe this. Epic. It's epic artwork. I can only imagine seeing this on the shelves back in the 1980s. This reminds me so much of old VHS box art like Conan the Barbarian. All the heroes and the monsters of the game are shown here, and damn, I mean, this font is fantastic. Everything about this has become so iconic. Lifting off the lid, and this is where my review is going to be a bit different from others. This game hasn't been played with 32 years, and the cardboard pieces are still unpunched, most of the figures are still on the sprues, and this is not by accident. And here's where I'm going to annoy and upset some Heroquest collectors.
So I'm not going into this completely blind. I know how important Heroquest is to a lot of you players. and a lot of people who collect vintage games, this was a really influential game. I know that from reading about it, but I never played Heroquest. I never had friends who had a copy, never owned a copy myself, so I've always felt like I've missed out a little bit on that, and I wanted to experience the game as fresh as possible. I wanted to experience Heroquest how you guys as kids managed to experience it back in the 90s. So I've tracked down the cleanest copy of Heroquest that I could find. I mean, these are still on their sprues. You know, this game has never been played with, and it's going to be my special honour to take all this apart off the sprues, take all the cardboard out of the holders and punch everything out and set it all up. And I'm giddy, I'm really excited to do this.
Removing the pieces carefully from the sprues and assembling the various furniture pieces, doorways and figures, I'm honestly astounded by how good these miniatures are. For 32 years old, these wipe the floor with most miniatures in a commercial board game now. They are among the nicest miniatures in a vintage game that I have ever seen. The sculpt is just beautiful on them. And even though the box encourages the players to paint the pieces are already immediately identifiable by their colours alone. Brown and grey is furniture, red is your heroes, green are your regular monsters, white are your undead monsters, and grey, well, those are the monsters to be afraid of. Just keeping things as simple as this makes the game very accessible and easy to read, and this is absolutely something they would have thought of. In the same way that having the cardboard pieces slot into the plastic with their wonderful painted artwork, it already gives a level of detail already there. You can tell they thought about the players with this. You can be happy with this just how it is, or you can get your brushes out and take it to the next level.
Many months later.
Which is what I have done. There's been a few months past and I've been busy with painting this game up. And if I didn't have an appreciation for the pieces before, damn, I do now. I have never painted miniatures before. But seeing the pictures on the side of the box and seeing what other fans have done with their sets, I had to do this. And it's been surprisingly fun to do. It's given me a whole extra appreciation for the components and details that weren't apparent until adding paint. Skulls on armour, cracks in skulls and tusks and teeth and damage. These were made with some care. The cardboard components too are spectacularly done. The screen of Mentor, and it is Mentor because he's holding the lower tomb, sits against a hand-painted board and gives the imposing presence, as if Mentor is overseeing the armies that are racing towards you. The art on the cards is gorgeous too. There's just so much care gone into the presentation of this game.
So, content, and there's a lot here.
4 heroes, 4 hero cards, a rule book, a quest book, a hero stats pad, this spectacular board, this amazing Mentor player screen, bookcases, a fireplace, a cupboard, throne, a tomb, a potions bench, enchanter's bench,
Tables,
a torture rack, a weapons rack, a treasure chests, goblins, orcs, Vermeer, skeletons, zombies, mummies, doom warriors, this mage, a gargoyle, dice, enemy cards, treasure cards, quest item cards, weapon cards,
magic cards,
and a ton of doors.
Okay, so I've got my game together. I guess I should get some games of this played.
Several months later.
Okay, I'm back from playing this thing. With noticeably shorter hair and a different shirt. Hey, it's been a couple of months. Wow, okay. Let's review this thing.
The game's instructions and quest book do a spectacular job of setting up the story and the premise.
The realm has been plunged into darkness and turmoil after eons of peace and serenity. The dark wizard Morcar is on the rise, and his armies of monstrous foes have spread across the lands. Prince Magnus has pledged for any heroes to rise to the challenge and defeat Morcar's evil forces once and for all.
Setup is remarkably quick, considering how many components there are. It's astoundingly so.
One person will assume the role of Morcar, essentially the Dungeon Master. He'll be controlling the monsters, but will be adding furniture and landscape elements onto the board, as well as awarding treasures to the hero players. The other players will be playing as the heroes. This is a 2 to 5 player game, and one person will always assume the role of Morcar. The heroes can pick between the Barbarian, strictly for beginners, the Dwarf, the Elf, and the Wizard. Each of these characters have their own strengths, weaknesses, and abilities, and the heroes will need to figure out the best way to utilise each. The Barbarian is the strongest with the strongest attack. The Elf and Wizard can do magic spells, and the Dwarf, he can disarm traps. For each character, a character sheet is provided, and a nice bit of immersive fun whilst the Dungeon Master is setting up the game, adding your crest of arms and motto to your sheet. It's not needed at all, but it's just a little bit of fun. The starting tile, these steps, is placed on the board by the Dungeon Master with any furniture and closed doors to that room. These are all indicated to the Dungeon Master in the quest map. The Dungeon Master reads out the quest description, and the game begins. Heroquest sees the heroes exploring, looting and battling monsters through a dungeon laid out in the Dungeon Master's quest book. The game works on a line of sight mechanic. Closed doors hide the room's contents, and opening a door will reveal what's inside the room, what furniture needs to be landed in, and what monsters. Certain corridors and rooms will be blocked off with dead ends. These are seen when the characters head into that corridor. Quests can have you looking for a particular room to find an item, rescuing and escorting prisoners, vanquishing a particular foe. This is all described in the quest book, and the Dungeon Master will tell you your quest, and also if there's any quest-centric information should the heroes stumble upon them. Heroes will roll 2 dice to determine how far they can move, and then they have the option of one of 4 actions. First, they can ask if the current room or corridor they're in has any treasure. Pretty handy for finding useful items such as the heroic brew and the broadsword. But some treasures are not all what they seem. Some are real stinkers, such as wandering monsters, booby traps, and nothing. Yeah, sometimes you'll find cock all, wasting your action. Heroes can search too for secret doors and traps. These can be pits that will damage a hero's health, spikes, even booby-trapped items in rooms. But only the Dwarf can disarm a trap. Well, there are a hero with a kit to do so, but default, it's the Dwarf. See, I told you each had unique abilities. Finding a secret door also leads to a secret room, and these can be really helpful, although sometimes they can be full of monsters. The Elf and Wizard can cast spells as an action. When choosing which hero to play as at the start of a quest, the Wizard picks one lot of elemental spell cards, the Elf gets second choice, and the Wizard receives the remaining 2. The 12 cards are split into 4 categories of 3 cards: Earth, Wind, Fire, and Water. And knowing when to make good use of these can be absolutely critical in a game. Spells can restore players' health, give them the ability to walk through walls, summon genies to crush foes, so making good use of them is key. It's also wise to keep the Wizard protected and safe, as his health is the lowest and his spells can make a huge difference. If he gets killed, you're going to know about it.
But the main action most heroes will be doing will be battling.
You need to be within striking distance of a monster and also within line of sight. Monsters in the UK version of the game all have a body point level of 1, so 1 hit kills them deader than dead. Combat is done with these, the combat dice. Skulls indicate hits, white shields are what the heroes need to roll to block a monster attack, black shields are what the monsters need to roll to block from hero attacks. Yes, the attacked player gets a chance to defend themselves. For every skull rolled, it's a hit on the player, so they need to roll the same number of shields. It's a simple and fun mechanic, and battling never feels like it's slowing down the exploring part of the game or halting the quest. A lot of quests will actually instruct you on vanquishing a particular foe, so battling is a large part of this game. A round of turns works as follows. Starting with the player on the left of the Dungeon Master, the heroes take their turns moving and exploring, and then it's the Dungeon Master's turn. Monsters don't move by dice rolls, but have a predetermined number of steps they can take, and the Dungeon Master can use any and all of the monsters on the board should they choose. With a large number of foes on the board, this can be particularly damaging to the body points of the heroes. Heroes will need to strategize between themselves, where to position themselves, and also watch each other's backs, because, like the monsters, if a hero dies, they die, and that's it. All treasures lost, all gold lost, they're out of the quest, but they can come back at the start of a new quest. Heroes can also save their equipment if another hero is in the same room or corridor as them when they die, but if not, everything's lost. It's a real kick in the nuts when this happens, but it doesn't feel unfair. Like I said, you have to watch each other's backs in this game. I mentioned positioning before because if a monster is blocking a doorway, you're going to need to kill him to get through, and likewise, the barbarian can be used as a human shield to protect the weaker wizard. There's a lot of strategy and thinking to this game, and I absolutely love thinking of new ways to block opponents and make it more difficult for them. As heroes explore the board further, more scenery and set pieces get added to the board, and no question, this looks absolutely beautiful. I'd seen pics of people having painted their game pieces, and this really inspired me to paint mine as best as I could. I'm a rookie, but there's a true sense of pride to painting these pieces, and like I said, I've never painted minis before. Heroquest introduced me to a whole new hobby, and I am completely hooked on painting now. Expect to see more painted minis in future reviews.
Aforementioned, Heroquest comes with 14 varied and ever-changing quests, and just as you're getting used to a certain mechanic, the game likes to turn things on its head. It has this fantastic way of keeping you on your toes.
Doors can be used as portals that zip you from one side of the board to the other. Treasures may end up being totally worthless, even booby-trapped. Grabbing a particular item may cause a gargoyle to spring to life. The Dungeon Master is also in control of the treasures in the game, which rooms and furniture pieces hold treasure and which don't, and the Dungeon Master has the opportunity to be a truly rotten sod and make a quest have absolutely no treasures. As mentioned, treasures can take the form of weapons and potions that can aid the heroes, but ultimately, the heroes are going to be wanting gold coins. These can be found on certain treasure cards, but the Dungeon Master might be generous enough to allow gold to be earned from slaying particular monsters. Between quests, the heroes can use their coins to buy upgrades for their character. Stronger armour increases their defences, better weapons allow to roll with more attack dice. This is how the heroes progress and level up in the game, and this is entirely at the player's discretion. They could spend all their gold immediately and get lower ranking improvements, or save from quest to quest to buy some really powerful upgrades. All the while, the Dungeon Master is aware who has upgrades and who doesn't, and those without are an easier target. This game has a fantastic way of keeping the heroes constantly on their toes, and playing as the Dungeon Master, it's deviously fun to watch them stumble into a trap. Secret doors may be hidden behind furniture, and it can be hilarious watching heroes run around trying to figure out what to do next. As the Dungeon Master, you can guide and shape the game, give hints, or spice things up by introducing a monster to the game that's not on the map. And talking of adding extra things, well, it should come as no surprise that Heroquest came out with expansions that added new quests to play, new foes to encounter, new traps to be wary of. Keller's Keep, Return of the Witch Lord, Against the Ogre Horde, Wizards of Morcar, the Barbarian Pack, and the Elf Pack. They all added new elements and twists to the core gameplay. Unfortunately, some of these expansions are horrendously expensive now and very tricky to come by. Heroquest also came out with the Quest Creation Kit, a means of making your own quests.
And here's the heart of why Heroquest has endured for so long: customization.
The game actively encourages you to customize, not just the quests that come with the base game, but in making your own quests. The centre of the quest book has a blank page for making your own quests.
You see, the contents of the box, they're not a game, but it's a toolkit for making your own epic quests and spinning your own heroic yarns and planning your own plans and traps.
and create the community has. For decades, the Heroquest community has written, devised, and created new quests for you to enjoy and share, puzzles to throw your heroes into a spin. YeOldIn.com is a centre hub for Heroquest aficionados, and has for decades been the central repository for new quests, rules, even custom game tiles. People are even making their own heroes. And even though I've been in the community a very short time, I'm seeing new quests posted on a weekly basis. It's no surprise that this game has endured as long as it has. As mentioned, this is the UK version of the game, and the US version of the game had a few additional rules and quests, one being that monsters have more than one hit point, and I have to say, I much prefer this. It makes putting those Chaos Warriors on the board or the Gargoyle a real true threat. The other thing to notice as well between the UK maps and the US maps is that there tends to be a lot more monsters on the board, again making it more difficult for those hero players. And additionally, there's chaos spells that Morcar can use against the heroes, oh yes, and each quest will tell you which spells you can use. This makes it for a far more challenging game for the heroes. And again, there's house rules. You can allow people to peek through keyholes into rooms, make it so that every room has a treasure, or none at all. That chest would be nice with a booby trap, wouldn't it? There is seemingly no end to the way this game can be configured.
I've come at this review from a very different standpoint to my regular reviews. Going into this, I knew just how much Heroquest is loved by so many people, and I wanted to experience this game totally. I wanted to have the experience of setting it up for the first time, and painting the miniatures and playing it for the first time and immersing myself in it. I was blind to the way this game plays, but not to its legacy. So, final thoughts? Well, it shouldn't come as any surprise that I absolutely adore Heroquest, and I can honestly say that I was right. I had missed out on playing this. Heroquest's scope is vast in a way that I have never seen with a vintage board game.
You have a set number of pieces, but with those pieces, you're helping Sir Ragnar escape capture, or you're in the Castle of Mystery. The pieces, the board, the ability to block walls off allows the game board to shift and change from quest to quest. As heroes, it's fun and exciting not knowing what's around the next corner, what will meet you when you enter a room, carefully exploring the map. As Dungeon Master, it's similarly thrilling to know in advance what your heroes are blindly walking into. It's fun to play both sides of this. With the core pieces, you could literally play new quests, conceivably forever, but there's the expansion packs, the custom quests from the community, custom game tiles, custom game pieces. This game continues to grow.
Heroquest is absolutely deserving of its adoration. It is a truly fantastic game that, even though I missed out playing it when it first came out, I can see me playing this for years and years to come. This has already shot right up my favourite vintage board games ever, and it's not without reason. It's just a fantastically made, endlessly customisable, endlessly replayable game. Zombicide, Star Wars Imperial Assault, Descent, they all pay homage to this 30-plus-year-old game.
A vintage copy, however, isn't particularly cheap to come by. I got lucky with my copy and its price, and granted I was looking for a good copy, but a decent copy, a complete copy of the vintage version, will set you anywhere between £70 to £120. And the expansions, well, you can get unboxed versions which regularly go for about £30 to £40, but certain expansion packs, the really hard to get hold of ones, well, they can go between £400 to £900, yeah, for an expansion pack. The good news is that Etsy has a ton of additional pieces and new components that modelers and 3D printers have created to make your own expansions, however. How fantastic is that?
Heed well my words, for I am Mentor, guardian of Lord Tome.
Heroquest is getting a re-release this year, updated art, no cardboard to the minis, and all the minis have had a major overhaul. But the gameplay and the quests? Largely unchanged. And this speaks to the quality of the game. It didn't need changing. And if it gives new players, like myself, a chance to enjoy the game and fall in love with it, I honestly can't fault that.
I'm late to the party with Heroquest, but getting to experience this game 30 years fresh and new has been a real treat for me. I am going to cherish this game being in my collection, and I'll continue to hunt down some of the expansion packs and grow my Heroquest collection. I cannot stress this enough. You absolutely need to play this game. Heroquest, it's legendary. Well, thanks again for sitting with me for nearly half an hour on this extra long review. As always, I'm Luke. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. If you like what I'm doing here on Down From the Attic, please consider liking the video and subscribing. Comments are always welcome, and I'll see you in the next video.